Hello everyone, welcome along to another release webinar, this time for 2021 R1. I'm David Beard, I'm the CRM Principal for Sage CRM, coming to you from snow-lashed London today, and I'm joined by my colleagues Jeff. Hello Jeff.
Hello David.
And Elizabeth, who joins us from Dublin, our development team. Hi Elizabeth.
Hi David, no snow here.
No snow, all right. Each release we have typically has a different focus within the overall rolling roadmap. And 2021 R1 is significant in that it's delivered more than just simple incremental improvements. This release has executed well on priorities delivering interface and user experience improvements. We've also knocked off a couple of big pain points, and we're doing even more with enhancing the integration capabilities, this REST API discussion. It's packed, we think, with features that improve the experience for everybody. That's customers with the usability, partners with implementation, and also people who look after systems, administration and security updates to enable a wide range of benefits to a wide range of audiences. Jeff, I'll hand back to you and you can walk us through each and every one of these blocks if you'd be so kind.
Yeah, thank you very much. Now, what we've done in this release is that there's a whole range of different customer experience and usability enhancements. I think we've added something like 38 cases resolved in the final analysis. We've implemented click to dial links. We've got OAuth 2 in the internal email client and the advanced email manager. We've seen a major expansion of the supported REST API endpoints. We've got self-service password recovery in the product, inline customization of lists and grids. We've updated the SDK snippets and refreshed the advanced customization wizard. We've also in the process of refreshing the e-learning, updating the user assistance, and adding in shed loads of supporting content on Sage City and the community.
So let's start by talking about, well, a simple but very welcome feature that the developers have delivered on that, and it's password recovery. And I'll hand to Elizabeth to talk about that one.
Thank you, David. I'm really pleased about this enhancement because it's long overdue. We finally introduced a feature that allows all users to reset their own passwords without having to contact their sysadmin. So until now, if a user forgot their password, they had to ask the sysadmin to reset it for them. This could be embarrassing for the user and also annoying for the sysadmin, but it actually presented a serious problem if the user who forgot their password was the system administrator. Because what happens if the sysadmin forgets their own password, especially if there is only one sysadmin for CRM who can reset their password? It's a dodgy question and there's really no right answer. The CRM solution was a compromise, but we've now been able to clean that up as well in 2021. I'll get back to that enhancement in a few moments. But what happens if you forget your CRM password in 2021 R1? So if your system administrator has enabled self-service password recovery, you'll see that link, forgot my password, on the login screen. So you put in your username and you click on forgot my password. And thanks, David. So if you put in a valid username, in other words, if you exist as a CRM user and there's an email address associated with that username, you'll get an email which has a link to reset your password. What's on the screen here is the email template. You can click on the button that says reset password, or you can copy and paste the URL and then reset your own password, and you're in. That template has been translated into French, German, and Spanish, and a system administrator can edit the templates as well. But I'd like to point out a few of the safety features. First of all, you must know the username in order to trigger the email. If you put in a username that doesn't exist, CRM can't send out an email. So that's the first one. The second one is that you must have access to the mailbox for that user. There's no way to redirect the reset password email to your own address. There's also a time limit there. I've circled it. By default, the link expires after 30 minutes, but the timeout is also configurable. And then finally, the reset password email does not contain the username. CRM username at the top, also circled, that's the user's display name, not their login. So even if that email were intercepted, you'd still need to know the username in order to reset the password. So it's pretty secure. Now, it is possible that someone might guess the system administrator's username and try the forgot my password link for admin, but they'd still need access to the email mailbox for the admin user to change the password. So that brings us back to the problem I mentioned earlier. Sorry, next slide, please, David. Before we introduced self-service password recovery, what would happen if the one and only system administrator forgot their CRM password? So there are a few possible solutions here. Since there are no users with higher or at least equal privileges, technically no user should be able to edit the system administrator's account. It contradicts basic security policies. So we could have left them locked out of CRM indefinitely, which is not a good solution. Or we could have allowed an info manager, for example, to reset the sysadmin password. But that permission would have allowed an info manager to log in as a system admin. So any info manager could just reset a sysadmin's password, log in as that sysadmin, and effectively become a system admin. So that's a security risk. And we compromised by allowing info managers to reset the sysadmin password, but by editing the sysadmin account, they actually demoted the sysadmin to the role of an info manager. So it removed the security risk and it allowed the now ex-system admin to log in, but there were no longer sysadmins. So it's not a great solution. It's a bit of an anomaly, and it was raised as CRMS 357. I think it was Gopi who raised this. And because we got this issue just after we'd implemented self-service password recovery, we were able to resolve it properly. So as of 2021 R1, an info manager can no longer demote a system admin because they can no longer edit a system admin's account, and they don't need to anymore because a system admin can now reset their own password. Thanks, David.
Right, good explanation too. So you can see how that's a bit of a an interesting one to solve properly. Thanks, Elizabeth and dev team, for getting that one. All right, let's move on. Let's have a look at some of the other features. So let's talk first, or next, I should say, with the extension of inline customization of lists and grids. So Jeff, back to you.
Thank you very much. Now, inline customization allows us to customize a list very, very easily. Using it, you can add a column to a list or modify a column order of an existing list. And we can think about things like allow order by property or show heading property, and we'll actually be able to see at all of the information that allows us to understand what's being changed. Now, you can see here that I'm looking at a search screen. This happens to be the opportunity search screen inside Sage CRM, and I can change the layout of this result grid very, very simply as a system administrator, because pages like this are built from a set of screen and list definitions within metadata. So if we're going to change the columns in the result grid, now here you can see that this is the grid that I want to change. That's part of the screen that I'm focused on. To do that, I would go into the system administration screens, and once here, I would then be able to select customization, then opportunity, and go down into the lists. And then I'd need to go within this list tabs. I'm presented with a list of the different lists and grids that I can change, but which one do I change? Unless unless you sort of know the product very well, you don't know. But Sage CRM now is making this very easy for us. So we can turn on inline customization. It's just a checkbox. Then go back into the opportunity search page, and you'll be able to see the hyperlink to allow you to customize the list. So click that, a pop-up appears. And this allows you to not only see what the name of the grid is for future reference, but you can also change the columns within the list. You can change any of the field locations as in their presentation order within the list. You can change the properties of individual fields. You can make other changes like adding in custom content or the business rules associated with those fields. All from here. All directly with as you're working in customization. So this is again saving time for system administrators and implementers.
Okay, so Jeff, tell us as well something else that we've been trailing for a while now, the idea of changing how the CTI components work, don't work.
Well, what has done is that in 2021 R1 we've done away finally with the CTI plugin, and so starting from 2021 all telephone numbers have been converted into telephone links, HTML telephone links. Here this is showing you the company summary page, and each phone number is marked as a click to dial link, and these click to dial links work in whatever context that the telephone number is displayed in. So within a list, a contact list, or an outbound call within marketing campaigns, and it doesn't matter which device you're using, because the list is associated with that behavior associated with the device. And the way that we've done this is a very simple matter, is that we've made the phone numbers formatted as telephone links, and you can see there the idea of the href tag with any telephone number within the system prefixed with the tel pseudo URL, and the click to dial links are valid on all of the supported browsers. They will have slightly different behavior depending on the browser and the device being used, but this allows a user to tap a telephone link on a phone-capable device to call a phone number. On a desktop computer, when you click a link, you get presented with this question: how do you want to open this link? And this is setting it for the future. And I could have set this, and then immediately I'm dialing out with Skype for Business, or I'm dialing out with whatever application you've associated with the call. So that could be in France, they're going to be using the Wildex integration. So whatever TSP, telephony service provider, is available, that's what you'll use.
Okay. And as you say, a lot more flexibility on different device types, which is ever more important as the years go by. All right, we had some fairly major security changes forced down from vendors, external vendors, in 2020. We've done a bit more on that, Jeff. What have we moved on to deliver this time?
2020 R1 has added in the ability to use OAuth 2 to be able to connect the internal email client and the advanced email manager to either Gmail or Exchange using OAuth 2 as its means of credential management. Now, you can use, therefore, OAuth 2. That's good. Now, that OAuth 2 work started in version 2020 R2 when we anticipated Microsoft's retirement of basic authentication for IMAP and POP to really within the context of Exchange Online. So we added, that's why we added that support. Microsoft, by the way, calls OAuth 2 modern authentication. So sometimes the two terms are being used interchangeably. So we've added support for the email integration, that's the internal email client, and advanced email manager in this release. The thing is that we're going to have to make sure that CRM is a registered application, so we can get hold of a client ID and a private client secret for the integration. Now, if we have a look at the next slide, I can make some assumptions here. I'm going to have to make some assumption that you know how to do this, and you've gone through the registration process for either Google or for Active Directory. There's a description of this all on documentation, all in the release notes, and there's a video as well to explain how this is done up on YouTube as well. So Sage CRM must be registered as an application for either Google or Active Directory. The application has to have then requested that the user grants access to the data in their Google or Exchange account, and after the consent is given, the CRM application will then be able to request and receive credentials to access either Gmail or Exchange, and those credentials in turn can be updated or refreshed as necessary. And all that results in us being able to have a client ID and a private client secret, which we then use in our setup of the screen.
Right.
And this, if you go on to the next slide, shows the setup of the email server options, email management server options. So this is one of the email accounts that the advanced email manager is connecting to. You can see here that I've indicated that I'm using OAuth 2 to connect to to Gmail, and you can see that I've got the email account that I'm going to, the email address that is being monitored. I've got details here of the OAuth 2 client and the OAuth 2 secret being populated in here. I've also put in all of the other information that you would expect to be able to enter. So I've got the POP server that's being used, the POP port for the Gmail work, and I'm also using TLS as well, so making sure that it's all secure. And again, the same for the SMTP connections as well. All the other settings are as you would expect, and you refer to the documentation for all the other fields. And once you've saved that, you will get this request to confirm that is it okay for this application to be able to access your Google account or the equivalent within a Microsoft environment.
A very familiar screen, yes.
And then again, you see within the context of the internal email client configuration, this is the equivalent where you've specified the client ID and the client secret. In my testing, they're exactly the same application, CRM, using the same key to be able to do this. And you've got the details of the outgoing mail server and the correct port, and we're using TLS and the all the other settings that you will want to do that. And that rounds up the OAuth 2 element.
Moving on, we continue to follow through on our commitment to make the platform a more open and easier place upon which our reseller partners can develop, enhance the core of Sage CRM. And to do that, we've made even more changes to licensing within the SDK, the System Developer Software Development Kit, in addition to improving the customer and partner resources to help build these things. So Jeff, back to you again. Talk us through that.
Okay, well, the wizard has been updated for, this is the advanced customization wizard, has been updated for Sage CRM 2021 R1. The new version is compatible with 2021 R1, 2020 R2, and 2020 R1 as well. Now, those of you who've used the wizard to create a new entity, you will know that it's a fantastic tool, but if you run it on a system without careful thought, it can create significant problems. So to help avoid that problem, we've added a message to the top of the wizard screen, because I don't really want to have to keep writing explanations on how to undo the changes that the wizard has made. Now, this reminds the system administrator that by running the advanced customization, they are going to be making changes to the database structure, and those changes will be new screens, lists, menus, and all of the changes are permanent. So a new entity is for life, not just for Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
And we've also, part of the other changes that we made, we've refreshed the default icon, and this is really to provide a better match with the existing icon. So it's not much of it isn't so much of a clash. You know, in a real production environment, everyone changes these icons, but in a demo environment, we wanted to add something that was not so sensibility hostile. So a full set of icons is now provided for use in the menus and drop downs. And the last change is quite a little change, but a useful change, because it's improved the default layout of the top content for the wizard created entities. And this is just making sure that any of the summary screens created by the wizard now follows the same layout as the standard Sage CRM entity screens, with the name, the company, the person fields, each located on a separate line.
Excellent. Yes, that'll make a lot of developers happy. What else have we got here?
We've updated the SDK for SDK installer, so that's been reissued for 2020 R1, and there are projects, templates, code snippets all available in the .NET API to support the .NET API, the COM ASP API, the SOAP interfaces, and client-side APIs as well. All of those are obtainable on that installer is available on community.sagecrm.com. So that's something that you need to go to. And there have been other changes within the fixes for customer cases, both for the client-side API and the RESTful API. So in CRMS 295, that was a fix, because that was actually affecting the calendars, but the client-side API was returning the wrong start time for an appointment, and that's been resolved. In CRMS 218, this is more of a serious issue that the RESTful API didn't allow for properly sized email parameters within the lead person email. So that's been resolved as well. And lastly, it's not really a bug, but what we've done is we've updated the documentation to help developers who found that they were getting strange errors when trying to use wildcards as documented within the RESTful endpoints.
Yes,
so that's now allowed.
Yeah, and as you're saying, that's all documented in more detail in the release notes, so don't forget to read those.
That's right. And so we've got a fantastic set of custom components. I'm in the process of finalizing their update that will be all updated for Sage 2021 R1 that will demonstrate different development techniques. So do have a look at those, do support our partners and help us together build great extensions for Sage CRM.
Super. All right. So we keep talking about the journey through the rejuvenated roadmap. And on the last two releases, we did a lot of work on the REST, R-E-S-T API, which came to us in 2019 R2. And we're doing more with that, right, Jeff? What's new for this?
Absolutely. Well, we've moved it on from version 1.01 to 1.1.0. It's still a beta because we've still got plans to be able to add more features into the API. But the expansion is significant. We've added in the ability to manage document upload with the REST API. We now have schema discovery, so we can use endpoints to discover what fields are contained in a screen or a list, what attributes and business rules are associated with those fields. And this becomes a really useful thing for being able to, if you're creating your own app or a portal, to be able to know to match the data that you need to submit for a CRM screen. We've also added the quick find endpoints that allows you to search for data across entities. We've exposed more user-based information, including preferences and settings and the calendar information. And we've also published endpoints that can do really interesting things, like the being able to find the escalation notification messages. Just think if you've got an application that you want to know, what should you be telling your user about, because you can access the escalation messages. And you also need, and you can also access information about favorite data, as well as perform batch operations now.
Excellent.
Oh, and this documentation is to describe the endpoints are split between the developer guide and the REST API reference. So there's two sources of information. It's fully backed, as you would expect, by, you need to move on a slide, please, David. That's the, and another one. And then it's fully backed by endpoints which are given in a Postman collection that can be downloaded by following the links in either the dev guide or the REST API reference. I'm in the middle of writing blogs and creating videos to explain the usage of each of these new endpoints, but it is a fantastic expansion of the APIs.
Cool. And as I said, it's sort of this commitment, ongoing commitment to opening up the platform to be more useful and more clever when it comes to doing things like apps and add-on type products. Part of the regular development process is to cycle through other things that come to our attention that fall not necessarily into the core of what we have on the roadmap, right? So this includes where we receive commentary through online forums, through support cases into Dublin, which Elizabeth will speak about in a moment. Jeff, walk us through just a few highlights, if you would.
Yes, there are some things that which are really part of the, as new software becomes available that we should be supporting. We'll add that into the support matrix, and we'll make a decision about what we're doing with some of the direction of changing that. I think it's particularly useful that we've added in within implementation. You can see that we tend to create buckets to drop things into, whether it's a user experience change, implementation improvements, administration and security, or advanced customization. I think one of the implementation improvements that we've got is the ability to say we can support Windows Server Data Center. So that gives a certain amount of reassurance for customers who are working on larger systems. There are a number of things that we do. Elizabeth may touch on this a little bit later on, But for example, we regularly take stock of the security within the product by carrying out penetration testing. It's very good to know that we have no major security vulnerabilities within this release.
Yes.
So that's all being carried out, all to do with ensuring peace of mind for our customers and partners.
Okay, it's that level of comfort yet again. And as Jeff is so fond of saying, and I'll say it for him this time around, a release isn't just the product, it's everything that goes with it. It's all the surrounding education, because at the end of the day, we want to make sure that both partners and customers have a fully rounded experience when a new release comes to market. And so to that end, we'll be talking about the usual things that we do on these release calls, including, as Jeff has alluded to already, new documentation available on help.sagecrm and then some. Jeff, what have we got?
Well, and then some. I think our documentation guy is brilliant. He has been very, very busy in making sure that the help center is up to date, so you can find everything that you need on the help center. That documentation has been changed within the context of the user guide, the administration guide, and the developer guide. Obviously, the user guide and the online help have been updated to completely reference the click to dial links, to use self-service password recovery. But also, when you're doing work on the documentation, there's an awful lot of housekeeping. So we've removed support for things like make sure that we've removed CTI references for some of the old e-marketing references have been pulled out to make sure that anything old is removed to make sure that everything is true that's displayed. And we've seen an expansion of the developer guide and the REST reference as well. In that. So a lot of documentation, new features, enhancements, and all of the addressed issues. Right. The release notes is the place to go, and this is about 50% larger than normal release guides. This is a big release.
Okay. Changes in support environments, as ever. That's an ever-moving feast. What have we got for that?
Well, I mentioned the added support for Windows Server 2019 and Windows Server 2016. We have also updated our support for 2019 SQL Server and 2017 SQL Server, and also added for the mobile theme support for iOS 14. And importantly, we're now as certified to be running on MS Azure. There are recommended sizings for both Azure and Amazon within the documentation and the hardware and software guides. Right. The support has been dropped for CTI ActiveX plugin. That's been removed from the product. We have ended support for the mobile theme for iOS 12, and please note we've already messaged this to our partner community in by the mobile apps will be coming to, we're no longer doing development work with it, and we'll be removing those from the marketplace at some point this summer.
Yes. Okay. We always talk about upgrades. It's a great time to, particularly with a lot of the security changes that are coming in the last 6 months or so, to message out to your partners and then to customers that there are significant reasons to upgrade, aren't there, Jeff?
There are. And if you're doing the upgrade, please check the release notes and check the upgrade guides that it has the definitive path. Yep. So if you are wanting to go to if you are wanting to bring a customer up to 2021 R1, then please follow the correct upgrade paths. You create problems for yourself if you are not following the correct upgrade path. And we have this year, we saw really 2020 R2 was probably the year to start messaging. We know that there are a lot of customers who have still got older versions, which are vulnerable in terms of they were like finding that dashboard gadgets don't work because of the ending of Flash, and that they also have other other issues with the with unsupported elements as well. So that's not just our stuff, but it's to do with TLS and security as well. So if you have a look at the long tail upgrades, please encourage your customers through your partners to be able to upgrade.
Yes, and it is an important thing, and it's a great opportunity then for partners to revisit the CRM installation of their customers, to obviously make sure they're on a secure and up-to-date environment, but to also consider extensions to help their business. And there's revenue for everyone in that one. So finally, the release contains a lot more information apart from documentation and things like that. Jeff's already talked to us about videos. You've got a few more coming down the pipe.
Oh, I have, yes. So certainly, I think there's already 6 videos up on the YouTube channel. But I'll probably be doubling the amount of videos once we've got the API videos dealt with. And there will be a specific large what's new in technical video as well. We've got lots of different articles in the process of being written, so you can see what's coming and what you can expect. And again, they've started to appear within Sage City.
So you'll start seeing these coming over time, over the next, 6, 8 weeks, something like that, Jeff?
Well, no, I'm trying to get them out to try and make sure that they are ready for release. Okay. So most of the work will be done really by the beginning of March. Gotcha. I'm hoping to do that because I want to start paying attention to some of the work for 2021 R2.
All right, and finally, a quick reminder as well about release cycles, and you can always find this information at help.sagecrm.com, and then lifecycle, which is at the top menu. All the release and coming to end of support dates are listed there. So again, you can use that to make sure your customers remain compliant. Okay, well, that brings us towards the end. I hope you found this interesting. It's been a significant release, as we've touched on, with a great number of cases and fixes in the product, and some great new features as well, including security and API extensions, along with some tried and tested extensions of features like inline customization that our partners and customers know and love. So we are back to the drawing board in Dublin and in London to work on the next release and continue to build upon the roadmap that we have rolling ahead in time. The exact release date in your country, as Jeff has alluded to, will be determined by your local Sage PM team. So talk to them about when and where. And for those of you that are in contact with partners, talk to them as well about what's coming, what's inside, and the reasons why people should be moving ahead with upgrades and extensions. It's a significant release, so we'll be sharing a lot more information in the coming days and weeks, particularly through Sage City, to make sure that you, colleagues, partners, and customers get the best from the system. For now, it's my thanks to Elizabeth for her input for both the self-service and the support processes, to Jeff for doing a talk through on the features. Do what you can to make this product even more successful following a fantastic 2020 year. Thanks for everyone for coming along. We'll talk to you again soon. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.